Hi, everybody. Welcome to our program. This is English Digest, and I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
And it's our Taiwan unit, so we're going to try to talk about things that have to do with Taiwan
Beautiful
in English.
Taiwan.
Indeed.
Yes.
And, of course, y'all are Taiwanese people, so you know more about this place than we do.
Sure.
It should be you guys who are telling us about Taiwan. But since we need to teach you guys how to talk about these things in English, in case you meet, people from other countries, and you want to introduce them to Taiwan, well, hopefully we'll try to tell you how to introduce these things about Taiwan to other people. So today we're talking about some of the famous sites here in Taiwan, lighthouses.
Yeah.
And we're shedding light on lighthouses. A very clever title there.
Yeah.
To shed light on something means to provide information about something that wasn't really known about before, especially if it's information from an expert. So yes, we're going to tell you all about the lighthouses in Taiwan here because Taiwan is an island and there are lighthouses all over the place. And lots of people are interested in lighthouses.
Wow, we have 36 lighthouses just here in Taiwan. I think they're beautiful, and we've had them for hundreds of years, so it's kind of a cool thing to go and see, part of history. We're going to get started. Tom's going to read through this article, and then we'll be back.
While driving along Taiwan's coastline, you've likely seen tower-like buildings overlooking the water. These tall, cylindrical structures are lighthouses. For over 2,000 years, they've helped keep sailors safe. The way they operate may have changed over the years, but their mission has stayed the same. The main function of lighthouses is to act as navigational aids. On dark nights, their beaming lights warn ships that there's a rocky shore ahead. Before GPS was invented, lighthouses also helped ship captains establish their coordinates on maps. The first lighthouses used open fires as their light source. They would later evolve to use candles, lanterns, and eventually powerful light bulbs. In addition, lighthouses aren't just helpful at night. They also help sailors in the daytime. They are painted with colors that contrast with the landscape, so they are easy to spot. The inside of a lighthouse is somewhat empty. It usually contains a long, winding staircase. Along the way to the top, there are rooms for storage and maintenance, and sometimes sleeping accommodations for the lighthouse keeper. There are plenty of lighthouses in Taiwan worth noticing. Taiwan is home to 36 lighthouses, each with its own unique design and history. Constructed in 1778, the Yuwangdao Lighthouse is the country's oldest. For over 200 years, it served as a landmark for ships sailing between Taiwan and Xiamen. Kending's Eluanbi Lighthouse was dubbed the Light of East Asia due to its powerful beam, which is visible from 20 miles away. The Gaomei Lighthouse is known for its characteristic red and white design, which makes it look like a giant candy cane. Plan a trip to any of these lighthouses and you won't be disappointed. Okay, everybody, let's get to it. Let's discuss the contents of today's lesson. We already talked about the title here, Shedding Light on Lighthouses, telling you all about them. So let's begin with the first paragraph here. It says, while driving along Taiwan's coastline, you've likely seen tower-like buildings overlooking the water. So yes, indeed, Taiwan has some really beautiful coastline, mainly along the east coast, but there are some pretty things to see along the west coast. I remember driving on Route 61, south of Hsinchu, heading down to Lugong. That's where we ended up. And there were some pretty nice things to see along that road there. Maybe even a lighthouse or two, but I wasn't aware that they existed then. But in any case, if you happen to see these lighthouses, we're describing them as tower-like buildings, or buildings that are like towers, and they overlook the water. So this is a verb here, to overlook. That just means something is high above something. So if you are there, you can see over that thing. For example, here in Taipei, I could say that Cultural University or Taiwan Culture University. I'm not sure what it is in English, so I'm just going to say the Chinese 文化大学.
That's on my street.
No, well, that's a campus in Taipei. There's, of course, the campus up on Yangmingshan there.
Oh, no wonder.
So let's just say that, what is it? Wenhua Daxue overlooks Taipei.
Yeah, that's a good example. So you need to be on a higher level, looking down on something else. A lot of apartments, most apartments, have balconies in Taiwan. So your balcony will usually overlook the street. If you're lucky, you live somewhere where you're overlooking the sea or the ocean. Something beautiful. I also wanted to mention, though, this verb is often used to mean that you don't notice something. Or if someone ignores you on purpose, especially. Don't overlook Johnny. He's very good. You should pick him for your baseball team. So we use it that way as well. Here, of course, we're talking about the location of something and being able to look down on a nice scene, usually. Usually you don't want to talk about overlooking the junkyard or overlooking a trash yard. That's not very fun. Typically, you're overlooking something beautiful. So the tower-like buildings are overlooking the water, and they're tall, cylindrical structures, and they're called lighthouses. A cylinder is a particular shape. So if you're looking at something that's a cylinder shape, kind of those orange, what do you call those orange things they put in the street when they're doing road construction?
Well, those are more cones than
those
cylinders.
Are cones. Yeah, what's a good cylinder?
Well, if I think of a cylinder, I can think of two things. It would be like the columns in front of a Roman building or something, or your little water canisters that you carry around with you.
Oh, yeah, my
those
water
are,
bottle.
Yeah, your water bottle. There's one right there on the table there. It's a cylinder.
They're round, yeah.
But cylindrical is the adjective.
True.
Cylinder is the shape. It's round at two ends and then straight down the sides. A cylinder. So cylindrical is the adjective, and lighthouses are indeed cylindrical structures. Okay, so for over 2,000 years, they've helped keep sailors safe, at least 2,000 years here in Taiwan and maybe in other places. The way they operate may have changed over the years, but their mission has stayed the same, or their purpose is the same. Their purpose is pretty much the same: to warn ships that they're getting too close to land, watch out, or you might crash on the rocks or something like that. But the way they operate, that has changed, or the different ways they operate may have changed over the years. And we'll get to some of those ways of changing in the next paragraph here. So let's get to it here. The main function of a lighthouse, or of lighthouses, is to act as navigational aids. To act as means that's what they do, that's their purpose, that's their role. Navigational just refers to trying to figure out how to get around, especially if you're sailing the ocean blue and you want to get to, say, Geelong, and you want to sail to, Japan or something like that. You need to navigate. You need to figure out which direction to go, and you don't want to get lost, or you might get carried out to sea by a big wave or something. So indeed, lighthouses can provide you these navigational aids or help. Navigational help. Basically, if you see them, then you kind of know if you're going in the right direction.
So sometimes, as you all know, the moon is very, maybe the moon is quite small. There's not a lot of light outside. And on dark nights, they're beaming lights, the lights coming from the lighthouse. They warn ships that there's a rocky shore ahead. So if they keep going, they're going to bang into those rocks and probably go down because you'll get a hole in the ship or the boat. Now, beaming can be different things. Here we're talking about the bright lights. But we can also talk about someone who has a really big smile. Oh, she's beaming. She's so happy. She can't stop smiling, can't stop grinning. But we also, if you're a driver in America, we have different levels of the lights in our car. So those are headlights, right? There's high beam, low beam. High beam you can turn on if you're first in the line of cars. If you're right behind somebody, never use your high beam. Kind of blinds them. So a beam is a very strong stream of light. So their beaming lights warn those ships that, hey, there are rocks ahead. Be careful. Now, As you know, we haven't had GPS very long. It's a pretty recent technology, and before it was invented, what did we do? How did people get around without GPS?
Good question.
I know. Lighthouses also helped ship captains establish their coordinates on maps. So they would plot their course or plot their navigation based on the coordinates on maps. And that would be like, 15 feet horizontal, and however they do that. I'm not very good with how ship captains map their course, but that's what they used before we had GPS.
Yep, they're coordinates like longitude and latitude and stuff like that, where exactly they are on the map. Maybe they see a lighthouse and they go, oh, yeah, I know which one that is. Yeah. That's the Uluanbi lighthouse. And judging by our distance, then we must be so many miles away from Luzon in the Philippines, etc., and over that direction is Orchid Island, etc. So they can probably figure out exactly where they are with those coordinates or those matching numbers on those maps. Now, the first lighthouses used open fires as their light source. That sounds kind of dangerous, but I guess they did not have electric lights at that time. They used those open fires built high up in the sky, so they probably had to keep those fires burning all night long.
Yeah, before electricity, we just had fire and candles, right?
Indeed, and I can imagine that the people who built those fires would often get injured or maybe breathe in too much smoke or something like that from those fires or those bonfires. So that probably needed to be replaced quickly. And then they later evolved into candles, lanterns, and powerful light bulbs, which we'll get to in just a couple of seconds here. So let's take a break right now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 我们今天要谈论的主题是 lighthouses, 也就是灯塔。首先来看到第一个空格的句子写着 The way they operate may have changed over the years, but their blank one has stayed the same. 这里提到呢，灯塔的运作方式可能已经随着岁月而改变，不过它们的什么却一直保持不变。第一题的 A 选项 impulse 冲动， B dynasty 朝代， C mission 任务， D inferior部下属下。这里谈到的是灯塔呢，运作的方式可能改变，但他们所被赋予的使命跟任务呢，却一直保持着不变。所以搭配文意，第一题的标准答案就选择 C mission。第二个空格的句子写着 The main function of lighthouses is to act as blank two aids. 在这里提到灯塔最主要的功能跟作用呢，就是要来当做怎么样的辅助 AIDS, aids 这里指的是辅助的意思。第二题 A 选项 navigational 航行的航运的， B confidential 机密的，C sentimental 情感的， D abnormal 不正当的。大家都知道灯塔最主要的呢功能跟作用就是用来当做导航的辅助设备，所以根据文意，第二题的标准答案就选择 A navigational。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue talking about lighthouses and how they offered their beam of light, how they shone their beam of light across the ocean so sailors could figure out exactly where they were and also to prevent crashing into rocks. So first of all, we said that the first lighthouses used open fires as their source of light. They would later evolve to use candles, lanterns, and eventually powerful light bulbs. So, of course, we all know what candles are. Those are probably a bit safer than fires. Although candles, are still open flame.
Yeah, they can be knocked over and start a fire.
And they have hot wax and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also, how do you get a candle to burn bright enough to be seen from miles away?
Yeah, they're tiny.
It would have to be a very big candle with a very big wick, maybe.
Yeah.
They would also use lanterns, which are like candles, but I think lanterns burn some kind of fuel like kerosene or something. Or
some sort of gas.
Some kind of oil.
Liquid.
And they provide some kind of flame as well. And then, of course, eventually, finally, after a long period of time, they started using powerful light bulbs, which they do today. A light bulb, of course, is electric, so it uses electricity. And then I believe they also use, I think it's called Fresnel lenses or Fresnel glass or something to help focus that light in a straight direction out over the water, so it's even brighter than just using the light bulb itself.
Makes sense. So we're using this word eventually. When you use eventually, you're using it as an adverb. It just means in the end, or especially after a long delay, or maybe after a series of things take place. I could say when I first moved to Taiwan, I didn't really like soy sauce, but eventually I learned to love it. Too much. I could drink soy sauce now.
Oh, wow.
So at first it was like this, but after some time went by, things changed. So in the end or eventually, they were able to use powerful light bulbs. In addition, lighthouses aren't just helpful at night. Now, I didn't realize this. They also help sailors in the daytime. When the sun's out and it's bright, it's interesting. They are painted, and we're talking about the lighthouses, with colors that contrast with the landscape. So they are easy to spot. A lot of them I've seen are usually painted with red and dark navy blue and white. So they're not going to be painting them green or light brown to blend in with the vegetation or the bushes around the area. So yeah, they want to paint them in these bright colors that are very different from the natural surroundings.
Exactly. So they wanted these colors to contrast with the landscape. Here, contrast is a verb, which means to look totally different to the landscape. Like if you wear a white shirt with black pants, then your shirt contrasts with your trousers. The landscape, of course, is the land around the lighthouse, the rocks, the mountains, the hills, etc., etc. So then you can spot them or see them during the day. Now, the inside of a lighthouse is somewhat empty. It's pretty much empty inside a lighthouse. Maybe it's even hollow. And it also or usually contains a long winding staircase. So if you want to go to the top, you go up a winding staircase. It doesn't go straight up. It goes around in circles inside the lighthouse until it gets to the top. That might be kind of scary. The higher you get, the scarier it gets inside that lighthouse. And along the way to the top, there are rooms for storage and maintenance, and sometimes sleeping accommodations for the lighthouse keeper. So yes, as you go up that spiral staircase or that winding staircase, you'll pass these rooms for storage, for various things they need, maybe extra light bulbs or brooms and things to sweep things up or whatever they need. And also things for maintenance, if you need to change the wires or clean the glass, etc., etc. And also, if you're the lighthouse keeper, you might actually have to live there pretty much all day long. So there will be accommodations, a room with a bed and maybe a little desk and then a bathroom where you can, relieve yourself or take a shower from time to time.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that in a lot of very old buildings, especially before the 1800s, they would often have to build these winding staircases to save space. And they're difficult to walk up and down. They're very narrow. We also wind things up. Before we had batteries for our watches, digital batteries, we would actually wind our watches to keep it ticking and keep our watch keeping the right time. We don't have to do that stuff anymore. We have so much new technology. So it was kind of a fun place. If you haven't ever been inside a lighthouse, I would encourage you to go check one out. there's lots of history in them. They feel very old, and it's kind of fun to imagine what it must have been like long ago for these lighthouse keepers. Now, moving on to the final paragraph, we say there are plenty of lighthouses in Taiwan worth noticing. I was kind of surprised to find out we have so many. We have 36. So you've got pretty much a big choice. I might get online and look some of these up first to see which ones are more appealing to me and then plan a trip, and figure out how you're going to go from one to another. And each of these lighthouses has its own unique design and history. None of them are the same. They're all different. It's kind of fun that they're all unique.
And I'm also wondering if some of these lighthouses are actually on outlying islands like Penghu or Lanyu, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So that number probably includes them. But, if you're into lighthouses, you can figure out which one is which. And they have their own unique designs, their own history. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the Yuwangdao Lighthouse. That's in Penghu. It was constructed in 1778. My goodness, just a couple of years after America declared its independence. Again, the Yuwangdao Lighthouse is the country's oldest. So that's the oldest lighthouse in Taiwan, or the territory of Taiwan, in Penghu there, an outlying island. And again, it's the oldest lighthouse. So yeah, check it out. Go there and see what it's like. For over 200 years, it's served as a landmark for ships sailing between Taiwan and Xiamen. So if ships are sailing from Taiwan to Xiamen and back again, they probably will pass by Penghu and they'll see the lighthouse there to make sure they're on course, to make sure they are going the right way. And yes, this lighthouse is a landmark, which is something on the land that you can see, that you can notice, and that you can identify. We have lots of landmarks in Taiwan here.
Yeah.
One very popular landmark is the 101 building, of course, in Taipei. And then there's that one down in Kaohsiung. My goodness, Mr. Hong here at the controls has told me so many times what that building is called, but I keep forgetting.
Which one?
I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to look up, but it's a big black building in Kaohsiung that is a landmark as well.
I wanted to mention a landmark doesn't have to be part of the natural scenery or the landscape. It can be a building or maybe a store that's really famous that everybody kind of knows where it is. And based on where that landmark is, they can then navigate to other parts of the city or a country. 101's really a great landmark because you can see it anywhere. I can be way out, in Ugu or something and still see 101 and know where I'm going, which direction I should head. I live closer to 101 than, say, some of the places that I go and record at. So it's a landmark. You can use landmarks also to meet people at places. Sometimes you're going sightseeing and you're with friends and you split up and you say, hey, let's meet back at this place. It's a place that everybody recognizes. So that's what a landmark is. A place that's either officially a building or it's just famous. Everyone knows where it is. So it's served as a landmark for ships sailing between Taiwan and Xiamen. Now we've got Kending's was it A+B lighthouse. It was dubbed the Light of East Asia due to its powerful beam. That beam, that light is visible from 20 miles away. When you dub something, it just means you're giving something an unofficial nickname. It's something that people use just to call it that. It's kind of a fun name. It's not official, though. It's just a nickname and kind of something that everyone knows it by.
I wonder if the A+B lighthouse is visible from Orchid Island. It might be. Let's talk about the Gaomei lighthouse. That is known for its characteristic red and white design.
Cute.
Characteristic means it has this characteristic. It has this special feature that only this thing has, and you can identify it like that. and that makes it look like a giant candy cane, which are those pieces of candy that you eat at Christmas time.
That are peppermint, yeah.
Yep, they're made out of peppermint or they have peppermint flavor. So, hey, they might go together with this lighthouse if you go there. So, plan a trip to any of these lighthouses and you won't be disappointed. Sounds like fun. You might have a nice view from the top of the lighthouse. They probably won't let you up there, but at least on the hill.
They might.
I don't think so. I think it's off limits. But in any case, they're still pretty high and you get a nice view of the surrounding ocean. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
第三个空格前面的句子提到呢，以前灯塔呢还可以使用明火作为火源。然后第三个空格的句子写着 They would later blank 3 to use candles, lanterns, and eventually powerful light bulbs. 以前用明火，后来怎么样？使用了蜡烛或者是灯笼，最后则是用了这些高照度的电灯泡。这样子呢，是一种演化、进化的发展。第三题 A 选项 retreat 撤退 B evolve 逐步形成发展 C predict 预测 D transmit 传送。从明火到蜡烛到灯笼以及高照度的灯泡，当然就是一种逐步的发展，所以搭配文意，第三题就选择 B evolve。 第四个空格的句子写着 They are painted with colors that blank for the landscape, so they are easy to spot。 在这里提到呢，灯塔会漆怎么样子的颜色，跟风景是怎么样的颜色呢？所以才会好容易辨识。第四题 A 选项 contrast with 与什么形成对比 B dispose of 处理丢弃 C wear away 磨损 D rest upon 在什么上面休息。那么灯塔的颜色呢，要跟当地的景色成对比才容易被发现，所以搭配文意，第四题就选择 A contrast with。第五个空格的句子写着 Along the way to the top, there are rooms for storage and maintenance, and sometimes sleeping blank 5 for the lighthouse keeper. 在灯塔里面有什么样子的设备呢？会有储藏跟维修用的房间，有时候还会有提供给灯塔管理员睡觉的什么呢？第五题 A 选项 illustrations 图解说明B qualifications 资格 C decorations 装饰 D accommodations 住处提供给这些灯塔管理员睡觉的住处，所以第五题的标准答案就选择 D accommodations。第六个空格的句子写着 There are plenty of lighthouses in Taiwan blank 6 noticing。其实在台湾呢是有很多的灯塔，是怎么样大家注意的。 A worthy 通常要搭配 worthy of， 而且灯塔是被注意，要用被动的形式。 B worth 解释成为值得做什么事情，后面呢要加名词或者是动名词。 C worthwhile 是值得的形容词。那么D 选项 worth of 不会有这样子的用法，所以在这里提到呢，这些灯塔是值得大家注意的，搭配文法我们就选择 B 选项 worth。第七个句子写着 For over 200 years, it served as a landmark for ships blank 7 between Taiwan and 厦门。在这里提到的是台湾最早的渔翁岛灯塔，在200多年以来呢，它一直是在台湾跟厦门之间怎样船只的地标。这里也是要考考同学们文法的问题，用来修饰这些 ships， 这些船只是航行在台湾跟厦门之间。我们呢搭配正确的文法，我们可以选择 C 选项 sailing。 Sailing 是从 which sail between Taiwan and 厦门，所以就可以变成 sailing between Taiwan and 厦门。第七题的标准答案就选择 C 选项。OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for giving us the pleasure of talking about your own homeland in English. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.